Hello, Captains. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, USS Endeavor. We are continuing our British destroyer tech tree line, and we are at the ship that made me fall in love with this line, and that is none other than the Tier 6 Jervis. And a lot of this ship is a combination of the ships prior to this, and we've perfected pretty much every aspect of it to this point. And then from here on out, everything just gets just a little bit tighter, a little bit better, and all around, it's all built off of the Jervis. So let's look at the commander that we have, which is very familiar, and here we go. Everything from here on is going to be Reginald Turwit, and we're using the very special build using Smogathon, which gives us basically unlimited smokes at our disposal, and we'll go over that more detail here in just a minute. On to the mod selections that we have. We have 3 to choose from. In the first, it's Aiming Systems Mod 1. The second, Steering Gears. And the last, we have the Concealment mod to lower our concealment as much as possible. On to the consumables. As we have stated, the Smoke Generator, as you can see on the dispersion time and the reload time, the dispersion time is greater than the reload, meaning you have a smoke screen back before you actually lose the smoke that you're currently in. Very handy. And your sonar, which is going to be equipped for the rest of the line, which is also extremely handy, only detects ships up to 3.5 kilometers, but is available for 3 minutes. On to the ship stats themselves. Our survivability is at 14,300, which is a little bit of an increase from the Tier 5 Icarus, and the armor is about the same, although the hull is slightly different, which is not too bad, but the HP hasn't increased a lot. Onto the artillery. This has been a completely different setup than what we're used to. Now we have 3 turrets with 2 guns each, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, 6 guns total. Same reload time as the Icarus, but you have 1 more gun. And all the other stats are essentially the same. Onto the torpedoes. It's the exact same torpedoes as the Tier 5 variant. Hasn't changed, but these torpedoes are fantastic. You have 10 of them that can be single fired in 2 quintuple launchers that go out to 8 kilometers with a 65 knot speed. So very, very handy torpedoes that can really mess up anybody's day. The single fire makes them very potent. The AA defense, I guess, technically has gotten a little bit better, but they still stink and they're not that great. And you're going to see that in the very first game that we play. We'll talk about that a little bit more whenever we get there. The maneuverability is also outstanding. 37.1 knots top speed with a 590 meter turning circle radius and a 2.8 second rudder shift time. Without having to build anything into the agility, these ships are very maneuverable and can increase their speed while turning, which is a unique thing to the line. Onto the concealment. With the concealment mod attached, we've gotten our detectability down to 5.2 kilometers. We do have Bay and Swirsky as our inspirations to help with that. And so 2.5 kilometers detection while in smoke. So you basically have a 1 kilometer buffer between your smoke, screen, fire penalty, and the hydro in which it's active. There is my win rate, 69%. Anyway, moving on from that, you can pause it if you want to look more closely. Onto the armor, we have basically the exact same 16 millimeters of armor. You're pretty much only going to get shot by HE, but just in case somebody decided to shoot AP at you, you could technically bounce 203s or lower in this ship. But let's be realistic. If you're in a destroyer, you're probably going to get shot with HE. Welcome, Captains, to the first of 2 gameplays, as this series has kind of been double feature land. In the first one, we're on the map Post. We're by ourselves, and we are in a Tier 5, Tier 6 lobby, so we're technically top tier. But we do have a carrier on the opposing team, the Ryujo, which is the Tier 5, which normally wouldn't be that big of a deal, but because our AA is absolutely trash, any carrier at this tier is going to be able to make our day miserable if they wanted to. And I just wanted to show this video specifically because it is incredible at how I was able to survive the whole match. So I want you guys to know right off the get-go, I know I said I wouldn't spoil a whole lot, but in this game, it's not about what happens at the end. It's just a matter of surviving and the will to survive and the ability to be able to still dictate and do the best that you can, even when everything is stacked against you. And when I mean everything is stacked against you, I mean everything was stacked against me. Here, unfortunately, the carrier was decided to fly on this side. It started on Bravo, but ventured over here. There are 3 destroyers on either side, and as you can see on the opposing reds, there are 5 ships out here. And in fact, technically there's 6. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So of the 9, 6 of them decided to come to Alpha. And if you look on my team, there's really not a lot to support me over here. I am really the only one that pushed in here. And I was going to back into the cap in order to try and take it, but the carrier has spoiled all of my plans. And I was forced to smoke up initially. And all of those ships, they did take shots at me, and one was successful in hitting me. They're going to all basically push right into Alpha. I have no real large support. We're definitely outnumbered on this side. Unfortunately, I'm not going to really be able to push in here as our Bulletproof decides to take out the Skane, and the Skane returns the favor, and they both basically take each other out. Welcome to Legends. At first, I was like, am I in an AI match where the destroyers basically take each other out right at the get-go? But that also helps me out a little bit in that now Bravo is basically open. As Alpha is very much overrun with reds, and I can't push into that T-61. He has a hydro smoke combination that rivals mine, and unfortunately, they have the numbers, they have the ships, and this is what I'm talking about as far as surviving. If any of you know who Bravo Foxtrot is, he is an incredibly good destroyer player, and he boasts a very impressive survivability rate, I think of over 80% in most, if not all, of his destroyers, and he is able to win most of his matches simply by just surviving. And unfortunately, we are not able to get into Alpha. They easily took it, and here I smoke up because I'm trying to get Bravo cap, since there really is no destroyer threat. As you saw earlier, they both kind of took each other out, which paved the way for me to be able to potentially take this cap. However, everybody's dark over there. I have no spotting. I'm the only one that can potentially spot. But as I'm sitting right here, I'm hoping that I can get this before the timer runs out. Just kind of hanging out here. Now, looking back on this, I could have potentially smoked up again to prolong the because of the Smogathon perk, the ability to stay in here, because I know that they're going to push this side. There I get visually spotted again by the T-61. I take shots at him. The carrier is right there as well, and unfortunately I get reset. So here I am trying to smoke up yet again. I briefly go unspotted, but then torpedoes start coming in, so I'm forced to kind of move out, and then I get spotted by the planes again. So not really being able to stay where I want to, and forced to be able to make these moves that I really don't want to make. But again, I need to survive as much as I possibly can, and I'm really up against overwhelming odds. The T-61 needs to go, and I'm doing everything that I can to try and take shots at him, but I'm also getting pestered by the plane, and then the battleships that were supporting the T-61 are also shooting at me. And as I smoked up, the Heinrich shows up, and he has hydro, which right there he spots us with. So now I can't stay in the smoke again, and I have to get out. So this was just a game where I was so heavily focused, and through all this, I was trying to figure out what is the rest of my team doing. I hope that they're being successful, but you can see there's not a lot of ships that have died. The only ones that did were the 2 destroyers that basically took each other out right at the beginning. I've traded a lot of my hit points trying to dodge, duck, weave, anything that I can to try and get out of this situation. I finally get my smoke back. I'm outside of the hydro range of the Heinrich. The planes are still there to spot me, but I'm able to pop it long enough to be able to disengage. And although I don't have many hit points left, I am able to briefly survive. So Alpha was not an option, even though I tried. It got overrun by the Reds, so then when the destroyers went down, I decided to go into Bravo, but the Reds pushed too fast and too soon, and the carrier that had the ability to spot me did. So the only thing that I'm thankful for at this point is that the carrier hasn't been spotting really anything else or going after anybody else, and I'm just trying to figure out what have we been able to accomplish thus far to be able to potentially win this match, and unfortunately, not a lot. As you can see, most of my blue ships have really kind of pushed through the cap that they did get, and they've just kind of been drifting out into open water out there. They haven't really been going for the majority of the caps. They're just all kind of hovering way in their spawn on the outside of the caps, which is not ideal. This Caricachole that died did try to go into Bravo, but got met with way too much. Finally, the carrier has decided to go pester somebody else for a change. So I am going to attempt to get back into Bravo to try and flip it. It's not being contested. There, the T-61 is spotted. So the Heinrich and the destroyer decided to go and push into the 1 cap that we already have. And we are going to try with all our might to get this cap, because we are down in ships, we are down in score, and we need to start generating points to be able to potentially win this game. There, the carrier pops up, and I am desperate for my team to do something about it, because I really don't need him to pester me any more than he already has. And at this point, I really wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to have the time to be able to take this cap. We are down to 15 seconds left. And I don't know what else I could possibly go up against that could ruin my day. But if you notice that the bearing locator is pointing to something that is off my right-hand side of the ship, as we finally are able to cap it right as we get spotted yet again by our friendly neighborhood carrier that is deciding to come and try and ruin our day yet again. But he was at an angle that he didn't have the opportunity to drop torpedoes on us. And right as I'm about to be in the clear, the Shores pops up. And he is now pushing in. So I decide to get out of Dodge, because if I take any more abuse, I'm probably dead anyway. So we're going to throw torps on the line and a little inside to try and slow him down. The carrier, yet again, is coming to drop on me. So now I am kind of forced to push into this island, smoke up, and fortunately, even though that torpedo hit the rear of my ship, it didn't have time to arm. But now I'm radared by the Shores. He is dangerously close to me. I've got to start moving forward. Hopefully I can survive this salvo right here from him as he hits us and leaves us with nothing. The carrier misses us with a drop, and now I'm hydroed by that same Shores. I'm trying to get around this island because he is hot on my heels along with the carrier himself. So, been running for my life. This is like a bad horror movie. I mean, it's either a bad dream or a bad horror movie where I am constantly running. I can't get away from anybody, and all I'm trying to do is run for my life and survive. And that's what's happening. The Shores is so focused on me, and he is trying to get around this island to be able to take shots at me. He's got me lit, and now we're pushing into the other cap. Technically, we have 2 caps, and now we're capping the 3rd, but there's no chance in hell that I'm going to be able to stay here. Obviously, he knows where I am, and at this point, the only thing I can hope for is that we are accruing enough points to be able to turn the tide in our favor, which we have. We are now finally up in count with ships, and we have the caps. So I am just trying to survive. However, we do lose a ship right there. So now we are technically still not down, but it's still dangerously close. There's a full health Queen Elizabeth out there that doesn't know that we're technically here, except for now when we get hydroed yet again by the shores. That message that you saw right there on the bottom we'll get to in a little bit. But just to let you know, that is the enemy carrier that decided to message me in the middle of the game. He did get taken out, so I wonder what it has to say. But we do lose another ship, so now we are down in ships. They are taking Charlie, which means that we are down in score, and we desperately need to start removing ships. We get a pretty good torpedo strike against that Queen Elizabeth, but he's able to damage con that immediately, meaning he's going to survive. And now I'm just trying to figure out what is the win condition and what can I actually do that I haven't already done. I've been so focused and been running from everything that it seems that I don't have much capital left to be able to use to take these guys out, as we now have lost the cap advantage and we are down in ships. So we are in a hole that I don't think we're going to be able to get out of. But as long as I am alive, I'm going to do everything within my power, even though I don't have pretty much any hit points. I'm still alive, and a destroyer late in the game can make a difference. I can't afford to get spotted, obviously, and even if I get nicked by a shell, I'm dead. So I can get into this cap as the shores is into Bravo, which is not ideal because now we're losing that cap yet again. I really need these last two ships to start making moves and potentially take out that shores, because if he has his radar back, he could spot me from a great distance away. So I am going to stay in this cap until I can potentially turn it. And really the only weapon that I have at my disposal that I can realistically use from a safe standpoint are my torpedoes. But even then I have to get pretty close because they only have an 8-kilometer range. And any ships that are traveling away from me, I'm not going to be able to use them. The guns that I have are only going to be useful if I'm behind an island and I know for a fact they're not shooting at me. There I take a shot because I need to reset this shores. He's focusing something else, so even though I'm technically spotted at this point, I feel pretty safe and confident that I'm not going to get shot at. There I'm able to actually get a fire against the shores, and although I was briefly spotted, still taking these shots because I knew that it was relatively safe. We finally take Alpha Cap back, and so that's our second cap taken, and we were able to successfully defend Bravo. But at this point, they have the ship advantage, and they have, even though they don't have the cap advantage, time is starting to get away from us. And we desperately need these ships to die, and we can't afford to lose anything else. There we are able to take another ship out, evening it out, but unfortunately, we lost another ship, meaning that we are still down in score. Looking back on this, if we would have had just a little bit more time than the 15 minutes, maybe I could have done enough to be able to flip and turn the score in our favor, but now we're less than a minute, and I popped my hydro because why not? But the 3 ships that are left, I don't have enough time to be able to take out, and even though I did everything within my power, it just wasn't enough. There, I get radared by the shores yet again. He did have one left, but the Heinrich is not in a position to hit me. The shores is not in a position to hit me. And the remaining Queen Elizabeth is also not in a position to hit me. But it wouldn't really matter anyway. They don't need to take me out in order to win this game. There, the Queen Elizabeth starts pushing around the corner, but again, it's far too late. But looking back on this, I was actually very proud of myself that I survived this match, even though the odds were very much against us. Even though we were top tier, it sure didn't feel like it. And with the carrier spotting us, it was really tough. And speaking of that carrier player, as we take a look at the leaderboard, Wasn't on the top of my team, but I felt I did everything in my power that I could have done. Just wasn't quite enough. Props to our Miyoko who tried, but the carrier, as you can see on their team, he wasn't quite happy with me. Not quite sure what that meant, but I couldn't help myself. Getting back with him with that message just felt good. It felt good to be able to survive against those odds. So a bit of a moral victory. On to the second gameplay, and captains, we can't go out with a loss. So I decided to recruit a little bit of help. I got my boy USS Rogue in the North Carolina and Kuduf in the Orland, and I am in the Jervis yet again. And we have spawned mid in Estuary, and it is a capture the base game mode, which everybody knows is my favorite. Not. Anyway, but we're going to make the most of it, and we're going to show just how potent a division can be when you have competent players that communicate well and know how to turn the tide of the battle. This is going to be a really fun game. I hope you enjoy it, and we're going to go out on a high note. And so what we're going to be doing here, because we spawn mid, we are both going to basically hold the channels that are on the either side of this island, because that's the quickest way that either of us can basically get into the cap. And our friendly destroyer player is going to be on the left-hand side. I've chosen to be on the right. We both have twist and track, so we both have the bearing locators, so we both kind of know where the closest ship is going to be coming from. And we're communicating this whole entire time, even though you can't technically hear us. We are in a party. But we're not going to push around this corner. We're going to wait for the enemy to make a mistake. As you see, there are 4 destroyers on both teams, so 8 total in the match, which is very destroyer heavy. But we have a lot of utility. We have tools. We have the DPM. We have the torpedoes. We have the smoke. And we are going to have some fun. So just waiting here. We are deciding to be patient. We don't want to push around that corner, because going around that corner could potentially spell disaster for us if we decided to YOLO rush right in. We are not Paolo Emilios, so we're not going to do that, as we lose our first destroyer on our team to the Brandenburg way out there. So now that we notice that the bearing locator has kind of positioned itself on the left-hand side, we both decide to push over here and get ready for whatever potentially is coming around this corner. So I decided to hold off on my torpedoes, because we're just patiently waiting. And there is the enemy Akatsuki that pushed around the corner, and our team is more than ready for what was coming around the corner. The Akatsuki, I'm guessing, is wishing that they would not have done this, as we completely eliminate, obliterate, and take him out without him being able to even shoot torpedoes at us. And not to be undone, the Lyon battleship, the French battleship, is deciding to push around the other side. And the Lyon is also not alone, as the New Mexico is also around that corner. And I don't know if they were paying attention to what had just happened to that Akatsuki, but when you decide to push around here and you've got 10 torpedoes at your disposal, we're going to use them. Their guns are trained in this direction, but we smoke up. We're outside of the detection for them. The Erland on our team also decided to throw torpedoes, and that is a whole lot of hate heading their direction, as we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a flood, 7, 8, a dev strike against the New Mexico, and the Erland takes out the Lyon. So the entire middle is now gone. Thanks to us, we have completely taken them out. Now the ZF-6 and the Brandenburg are pushing around their side, as they have taken out the 2 ships over there. But we are waiting for them. No need to push out against all that, because the Brandenburg has devastating secondaries, a lot of guns, and torpedoes. It is an offensive menace. But because of the spotting that is being done by our battleship, our friendly battleship, we are going to smoke up, and we are going to start taking out the ZF-6. He's the biggest threat. Not that they're both not threats, they are, but we decided to focus our efforts on the ZF-6 first. He is very fast. He does have long range, fast, relatively quick reloading torpedoes himself. I really enjoy that ship. The AP on that thing is a monster as we get a less than 5-minute high caliber. Oh man, that is just crazy. So the potential for this ship can be really, really good when people decide to do crazy things against you. So we're going to keep peppering this ZF-6, and because we need to take him off the board, he beaches. So now it's going to become a lot easier as we're just about to run out on our smoke. And because of Smogathon, we pop another one to prolong it so that we don't get spotted. There are the torpedoes from the ZF-6 coming towards our direction. We're going to easily be able to dodge those because they were pretty widespread as we throw torpedoes. One set against Brandenburg, but he is really, really low. We did get a fire against him, and he is not long for this world either. He's just getting way too focused, and this is going to spell his disaster. As we get another fire, but technically not the kill. Our friendly Erland got it. And as you notice, right after that, we still have the bearing locator that is behind our spawn. And the torpedoes that are heading towards our battleship is also another dead giveaway that there is yet another destroyer behind there. So we are going to push straight over there, and we're going to take care of this destroyer before he is able to take out our Colorado and our div mate in North Carolina. And that's the power of having that bearing indicator and locator. Yes, the torpedoes did come, but if they hadn't shot, we probably never would have known that the Akatsuki was over here. But that's why I love having this. It gives me the information that I otherwise would not have had. The Akatsuki is smoking up, but there's too much focus fire against him, and he's going to be forced to push out of that smoke, and we are going to be able to take him out before he even has an opportunity. But again, we kind of miss out on the kill. As you can see, we have 3 kills, and that would have technically been our Kraken if we would have gotten the kill against the Brandenburg and that Akatsuki. But it is what it is. I don't really care. At this point, though, we after looking at the scoreboard, at this point in the game, I realized that I had 3 kills. Our friendly div mate in the Erland, as we bump into him, I guess as a friendly high five. No, that was a mistake. He has 2 kills, and our div mate in the North Carolina has 1 kill. So if you notice on the Reds, all 6 kills are all from our division. Now, a couple of those guys decided to push out unnecessarily in the middle at the very beginning of the match, but it was kind of cool to see that the power of our division has definitely contributed to where we are at in this game. And getting a high caliber within 5 minutes is pretty crazy. But it happens. So at this point, I was communicating and saying, well, we could go for their cap and just secure the win, or we could continue this onslaught and just go right at the enemy and take them out. And I know that the smart play is to technically go for the cap and dictate the terms of the battle, making them come to us. But I decided, the heck with that, let's have some fun. And so we decide to just push out and meet these guys head on. So unfortunately, that other ship went down, so now it's only 2 left. So it's a 5v2 situation where it's just the Jervis and the Italian Caracciole battleship that is remaining. Jervis is trying to smoke up and get out of Dodge. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that this is going to be a win. It's just a matter of, can we get the rest of these kills and potentially still get a Kraken, because that's my hope. So the Jervis goes dark finally, but we're still lit because we shot. I really don't care at this point. We did lose another ship, so it is getting a little close, but I have confidence in my abilities and in the our div mates to be able to close this out. We get a really good salvo right here, basically taking him down to nothing. And then this final salvo is going to be the coup de grace. And thank you very much as we get our 4th kill. The Caracciole is very low. So finally getting in gun range, we're going to go ahead and open up. Again, we're just having fun. I wouldn't necessarily advise this play. The Kirkachuli could take some good shots at us, but we're relatively full health. We haven't really had any issues up to this point, so why not try? So as he's getting whittled down, we are able to get a fire. So I'm thinking, well, if we are able to get just a little bit more, maybe we can take this. However, unfortunately, that salvo right there coming in is from the Colorado, and he takes him out, and we miss out on the Kraken. But overall, that was basically a pretty good steamroll. Our div mate and our div mates rather did a fantastic job as we take top of the leaderboard. Our friendly destroyer takes second, and our friendly North Carolina is midway. But overall, that was a really fun and great game on all of our parts. So there's a look at the Jervis. Was my favorite when I got to her. That really made me start to really enjoy the British DDs. So if you haven't gotten to her yet, she is a welcome addition, and you will be having a lot of fun in that one. And so next we're going to be taking a look at the Lightning. So stick around, captains. Thank you very much for tuning in. Like, share, subscribe, comment below. Fair winds and fair seas, captains. Thank you again for all your support, and I will see you in the next video. This is the USS Endeavor, signing off.